I don't know if this
But
sexual
everything
liberation in
has
Rome.
to change. Marriage has to change. The
Yeah.
idea of children has to change.
Well, marriages are just falling apart. I mean,
Oh yeah, but see, that's a transition. What's a marriage gonna look like in 3 generations? It may be an old. Have to. What is that word? MARR. They'll be looking it up.
Okay, but I think that there's a place for marriage, but
Or something that.
I think there's a place for marriage in the Jungian sense, which is that
Bridal chamber.
no, that we are not complete as individuals.
I agree, but I
And-
think what we're talking about is marriage as a contract as opposed to marriage as a process or something.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's fine to think of it that way, but in the end, the issue is how do you properly raise children and take responsibility for them? And if we think of women as breed stock, then then we don't need marriage. Then we just keep
No,
the.
no. Well, right now you've
Then we
already
have
got
the
children.
handmaid.
They're online all the time. They're already being raised in a whole other way. I mean, everything is changing. I don't think the family unit will be the same in 60 years.
That's fair enough. I mean, I agree with that in some sense.
I mean, I don't know what it means. But
I don't know what
I
it
see
means
something's
either.
changing, and I
Right, and so
Well, you've got young people can't even pair bond these days. They cannot even pair bond. So what? So it's going to happen within the next generation.
okay.
The
So
whole idea of
Actually,
family, the
I-
family structure is decimated now.
yeah.
okay,
And
so
I've been
this
shocked
is
if you-
this comes back to the fundamental issue in Aion, okay, which is what is Aion? What is the God image, the self, in a from community perspective, an archetypal perspective, as opposed to an individual perspective? What is it pushing us toward? Okay, that's one of the fundamental things. I mean, that's a fundamental theme under Dr. Jung's life, which was it wasn't his choice. He had to do these things. Okay, and he had to write these books. In other words, he didn't write a book until all of a sudden he felt that he had to. He was being forced from within by his self, by his God image, to sit down and write a book. Okay, a very scholarly
So
book.
what would Jung do now? Would he blog? I mean, the technology's changing, and so the
Yeah.
way the thing I keep going back and forth with. Here's my 10-year-old autistic little girl, but she talks about the inner fate and outer fate. And the inner fate is what we bring to our lives, our talents, our abilities, and then the outer fate is what constrains us or what gives us opportunities. And so these two things come together, and in her world it's planets and houses. And so you've got this interplay, and so maybe the talents and so forth coming forth are collective in some way, and maybe they'll never change, but I think they will because the technology. But you've got what you've got to work against and work through, and then you've got this technology that's bridging the two, that's coming between them. In the old days, it was a book. Now it could be a blog. But anyway,
Yeah.
there's ways to.
Right.
All of that stuff is changing. It's dynamic.
Right, but it's all communication, right? So it's all in Dr. Jung's case. He was seeing it as
I don't know
his
if that's
his
right.
self forcing him, coming up from him.
I think you said communication, but it's sort of like expression, which I'm not sure is quite the
Yeah,
same
but
thing.
just imagine all the kids walking down the street. I mean, even I was doing it at the mall today. I went over I went over to the Apple store, and because it's a long way and it's painful with my ankle, I was just looking at my iPhone while I'm walking through the mall, and I almost walked into a wall, honestly. but everybody's running around staring at their iPhones. If you come into this restaurant on a busy night,
Yeah.
there'll be 50 people in the room, and 40 of them are looking at their iPhones, right?
Yeah, she had a dinner with her iPhone up there earlier. I watched that one.
Right, and so, what are they looking for? I mean, I remember there was this movie that was named Looking for Mr. Goodbar or something like that.
Jane Fonda.
Nothing subtle about that. Is there?
So
You end up dead doing that. I remember
but-
that.
right, but what is everybody looking for? I think they're looking for their self.
Sure.
You agree?
Yeah, I mean that's why. But you use whatever it is you got to see your reflection. Basically, you want to see your reflection.
Right. You want to see your split apart, your other side, right? Or
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're talking about men or women?
both.
Both.
Because I see women as using Facebook for relational purposes and using.
You mean men aren't looking for women on the internet?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they're not looking in a relational sense the way women are looking at Facebook. They're looking at what everybody's doing. Okay.
And so they're looking for relationships for different purposes. Okay. The women are looking for relationship for advice on raising a family, and the men are looking for a one-night stand.
Whereas the self and with the female is with the relation, the animus concept.
The research I did with men and women using technology, and it was artists. The women were building artistic environments for relationship, and they were working together. The men were more, I called it muscular at the time. They were asserting themselves and putting themselves out there individually. They were saying, basically, they were saying,
is me,
this is my idea, take it and eat it. And the women were saying, join us, become part of this, and we'll build something together. So there was that difference.
So the women were creating
They were working
a
together.
community, a collective.
And they were working together and bringing more people into their.
Okay. Let me tell you about an art experience I had. Is a teacher over at Maryland Hall. She's quite a capable portrait artist, among other things. Okay. So when you're using pastels, you're painting. That's an affectation of pastel artists. So I took a course. We're doing portraits, and comes up behind me, and she says, "Oh, well, you got his eye a little off. You have to measure this and do this way." And I said, "No, I don't. This is the way I do it." And
Right.
you've seen the way I did portraits, which is, I'll do it with a palette knife. I don't need any precision to it because,
Very different.
yeah, because I'm going to capture a moment, and either you're going to see the moment or you're not, and I really don't care. I mean, I'm having a moment when I'm painting a portrait. I'm having a moment
Yeah.
with my canvas. I'm taking your image. Let's say I'd love to paint your portrait one day, but paint your, do your. But I wouldn't do it live normally. I mean, I would if I was in the portrait
you
co-op.
can do my portrait, as long as I'm corrected.
Well,
Move that eye over that way a little bit.
but I was entirely furious. You're quite right. I I mean, everybody else was buying it. They were into the herd mentality. Please tell me how I got this eye out of position and exactly what I can do to correct it.
That would be one. That would be me.
You know, and I'm saying, you know,
Yeah.
who the hell are you to tell me how I should paint, right?
Yeah, that's
I'm that way with writing. I'm not that way with painting, but my specialty is writing.
Right.
My strength is writing, not painting.
Right,
So I would feel that way about writing,
right.
but if you're into the more visual arts, then I
Well,
can see why you
I
would
mean,
react that way.
it used to freak me out about writing too, because, well, let's put it this way. In law school, I
there's some writing for you.
Well, I studied corporation. I took a course in corporations, and I studied it very diligently. And we were allowed to have an open book test. We could, it was a 3-hour exam, but we could go use the library. And I literally got up from my desk and went into the law library and actually found citations for cases to answer questions. And when I finished, I thought, this is the best exam I've ever taken, because I've not only gotten the answers right, but I've gotten the answers with the citations in the answer. And when I got the test paper back, I got a D. I was totally blown away. I mean, it's the only D I got in law school was corporations. Okay, well, that corporations professor, he finished his career as a corporations professor. I took a company public. So who's the one that understood corporations better? That's a question.
That's the
thing-
weakness of our academy right now.
Yeah.
That's exactly the weakness.
Which is
Well,
what
I
ours
learned-
talks about too. And
As an undergraduate, I learned writing well was better than knowing a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Because I could write stuff, and they would get back really well written. Loved reading this, would love to see more. Where the guy next to me would have, encyclopedic, listing of things, and I would get a better grade than they did, and they knew more than I did, But I just said it better.
yeah, maybe.
Even if you just take a couple key themes, you elucidate them
Yeah.
well with writing. That's a lot more powerful than someone who takes.
It also
15
shows a
themes.
deep understanding, whereas this kind of a listing sort of thing doesn't. It just shows memorization, I think.
Okay.
But that's just something.
Well, we didn't really get started in Aion, but let me turn this.